Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Before we get on to the video, make sure you subscribe the channel and do hit the like button if this video helps you in some or the other way in achieving your hypertrophy goals. Getting on to today's topic, Hypertrophy 101. There are a lot of things that you can do to achieve your hypertrophy goals much more efficiently. I see so many people in the gym trying so hard, putting in their best of the best effort to achieve their goals towards hypertrophy, but I also see them making some very common mistakes which kind of pull them back on their journey, and it usually takes them much more time to achieve the results which they could be achieving in a much lesser time had they have this information that I'm going to give you today right now regarding hypertrophy. And I hope that it probably clears all your doubts and confusions around how to build a plan, around how to focus on recovery, how to start with the goal in the first place, and also address some of the common mistakes that people do which kind of pull them back on achieving their goals in a much more efficient manner. I know the video is long, but please stay with me. Now let's look at point number one, and that is how to assign yourself some goals. What are goals? These are the pillars that help you foresee a certain version of yourself in a given period of time, and that is the one thing that you will work towards to achieve by the end of whatever term you're looking at. Now, there are different aspects of goals and how to set them and how to achieve them. The first step towards assigning goals to yourself is looking at it from a 3-point perspective. The 3-point perspective essentially includes a long-term goal setting, a mid-term goal setting, and a short-term goal setting. When I say a long-term goal setting, I mean that you need to set a goal which has to be achieved over a long period of time. Say for example, you have to set a vision in terms of where you want to see yourself in the next 1 year. Kind of sounds like a job interview, but yes, that is very much needed. You should have a very clear picture, or at least some indication of where you see yourself in the next 1 year. Talking about midterm goals, you should also have a similar vision towards where you want to see yourself in the next 6 months. And then comes your short-term goals, which are primarily the things that you'll work on an immediate basis, and all these things will add up to build your midterm and long-term goals. So your short-term goals is something that you start with. This is the meat of the entire foundation towards building a proper goal that you want to achieve by the end of say 1 year. But these short-term goals, which could comprise of probably weekly goals, monthly goals, or a quarterly goal, these will comprise and build you and your physique for the final ultimate look or the goal that you're trying to achieve by the end of the year. So please try to understand that dividing your goals in this manner will also make sure that you are on track with your goals, because a lot of the times what happens is, if you set a goal that you want to achieve by the end of 1 year, you might lose track of your progress towards that ultimate goal because you don't have short-term goals. So make sure your short-term goals are there and your long-term and mid-term goals follow through. Now, there are certain times that you will think or you may want to achieve a certain goal. Say for example, fat loss. You might think that you need to lose certain amount of extra fat that you feel is unnecessary for you, or maybe you want to just look a little more aesthetic, or maybe you want to compete and you feel that you already have the muscle and all you need to do is lose that body fat to get onto stage. Now this is what you want, versus what you need at this point of time could probably be the fact that you need more muscle. for some people it could be that the extra amount of fat that they have is actually negligible. It is just a mental block that they have, that they think that, you know, I want to lose this extra fat, make my abs more visible, and then only get onto a muscle building phase all over again. But maybe at that point of time your body is actually exhibiting a lot of protein synthesis because you have been in a muscle gain phase, for example, and you don't want to cut that off immediately at that point of time to just lose that excess fat that you think is excess, and then again get into a muscle building phase and start from the scratch. A lot of the times there's a difference between what you want versus what you need. Another example that I can give you is in terms of a health perspective. So what happens is, a lot of the times when you check your vitals, you realize that okay, your lipid profile is off a little. Maybe you want to, you know, improve your liver health a little bit more. Maybe you are going through some cardiovascular issues and you want to correct them, versus what you want to do at that point of time is probably build muscle. While you want to build muscle, what happens is that you end up eating a lot of extra calories and eating a little more with a little more intensity, and all this result into your lipid profile or your cardiovascular health taking a little more hit than it should take at this point of time, which in turn results into something that you wouldn't want for yourself from a health perspective, of course. So this is where you know, a difference exists between what you want versus what you need at this point of time. What you need in this case probably is to increase your aerobic activities in a much more steady manner to get your cardiovascular issues checked and get them in a space where you are in a state of good health all over again. Or maybe you just want to work on your lipid profile by changing your diet a little bit more. You know, probably there could be a requirement of you eating lesser than what you are eating right now, or maybe changing your lifestyle to a different perspective altogether, where your lipid profile shows a better balance than what it is right now. Now, while you are doing that, maybe muscle building would not be possible at the same time. Maybe you would want to lose some extra fat that you have, or maybe you just want to maintain your muscle. So all things cannot be done at the same time. So it is very important you understand, you have a very clear picture of what you want versus what you need, and then evaluate whether you have the luxury and privilege at that point of time, whether you can pick what you want instead of what you need. Otherwise, you know, it could result into something that you don't really want from a very health perspective. So think through and then take your decisions. The next point being, it is very, very imperative that you write down your immediate objectives that you want to achieve and take it one step at a time. Do not rush through it. Do not aim to achieve everything at once, because Rome was not built in a day and your physique surely won't be built in a day. So it'll take its own time. If you are concentrating on, you know, building muscle, do that. If you want to lose fat, do that. If you want to improve certain health factors and markers around it, please go ahead and do that. Do that under professional guidance, but make sure that you are doing one thing at a time and achieving that, and only then you move on to the next goal. Moving on to the next big thing, that is how to set up your training program. Now, what does this ideal program look like? The first thing that you need to keep in mind while designing a hypertrophy training plan is the fact that the workouts that you include in the program need to promote maximum muscle stimulus. This means that you should not just be moving weights from point A to point B. That is not the idea of these workouts. These workouts are purely aimed to put in the maximum amount of eccentric load on your muscle to make sure that you stretch the muscle to its maximum extent possible, and also to make sure that you contract your muscles to the maximum extent possible. So make sure that all the workouts that you include in the plan is designed to build muscle, is designed to tear them to the most optimum level where you can then recover and build new muscle tissue. It's not just about moving weights from point A to point B. Case in point, sumo deadlift. Don't do them if you want to build muscle. Do them if you are looking to build strength. Do them if you want to compete in a powerlifting meet. But if you ask me, I never do them for my hypertrophy training because my aim is bodybuilding. So make sure that you know what you are chasing in the first place, which is where setting up your goals come into the picture, and that is only when you decide to figure out a training program that suits that requirement to its best capabilities. Which brings me to the fact that the only way you can achieve maximum muscle stimulus is through quality and not through quantity. While it is very important to choose the workouts that will help you do that, it is also important that you maintain a certain quality when you are performing these reps. This is very important because if you are a person who just moves weight for the heck of it and does not concentrate on making your each and every rep count rather than counting your reps, you will never be able to achieve your muscle building goals. The most amount of stimulus comes from the most controlled eccentric movements, and you have to squeeze and stretch at all times while performing these reps. So make sure that you prioritize quality over quantity. Yes, it is important for you to know what is the rep range you want to be at. Ideally, it is somewhere between 8 to 12 to roughly around 15 reps for hypertrophy. I would always stick to 8 to 12 reps because that is the space where you are not building continuous fatigue but actually achieving maximum muscle stimulus. Talking about fatigue, that is another thing that you want to keep in mind, that while you are aiming to achieve maximum muscle stimulus, you do not want to fatigue your muscles and especially your nervous system to that extent where recovering becomes very difficult. So make sure that you are designing a program that gives you maximum amount of muscle stimulus. Make sure while you are performing these sets, all the reps need to adhere to certain quality requirements, which means moving the weight in a particular direction, going through the full range of motion on eccentrics, and when you are moving the weight up, and the most important thing is you want to keep your fatigue to the lowest levels possible, because that is when you will recover optimally and be able to train day in and day out without hurting yourself, and also making sure that you are growing as you are training for your goals. So these 3 points are the base of any hypertrophy training program. These never change irrespective of you wanting to build muscle or burn fat. The only thing that changes over here is primarily diet, because those manipulations actually help you gain muscle or lose fat or maintain muscle over a continuous period of time. So make sure that your training program follows these 3 particular points. Now, one thing that you also want to pay attention to while designing a hypertrophy training program is how much volume are you going ahead with. You always want to start with lower volume and always want to go ahead with higher intensity. There's a difference between the two. Volume essentially is the amount of sets into reps in a particular session that you perform for a particular muscle group. That gives you the amount of volume you are exhibiting in that particular training program, versus intensity. That essentially means that how much intense your workout sessions are rather than actually doing a lot of it, right? So you can do much more lesser while keeping intensity high, and you can also do much more while keeping your intensity low. That is increasing your rest periods, talking between sets, using your mobile phone. All this result into your intensity going down and eventually leads up to your volume going up if you're doing too many sets and reps within that one particular session. So what you want to do is keep your volume low, keep your intensity high. Few things that will help do is, number one, it will stimulate your muscle to the maximum capability and also keep fatigue low, because your overall volume is low. So the tension on your nervous system especially is to that extent which is bearable and is recoverable until the next day of your training again. The second thing it will help you do is burn more fat. You have heard this time and again that people say that weight training burns more fat than cardiovascular activities. It is proven, it is true. It also helps you build muscle and preserve muscle. So you want to keep your intensity high so that you are in a state where you're constantly adding more new muscle tissue after the adequate amount of tear that you have in the gym. And you also want to make sure that you are not putting your body through unnecessary stress and overtraining it with higher volume over the period of time. One very important aspect of having a lower volume of workouts and higher intensity is the fact time optimization is a very important thing. Time is very precious. I would suggest that always train less but train with higher intensity so that you have more time for yourself to recover. Just get back home, eat more, drink more water, sleep more if that is required, but I would always say that train lesser. So you should know how to optimize that time by working out less, but that does not mean that you compromise on the hard work or the quality of the workout that you exhibit day in and day out. Now, one question that you might have is, what is the ideal time to change a program? Now, while it is very subjective, few indicators that I can give you to understand when it is time to change your training program is the fact when you see a certain amount of plateau that you have reached, wherein your weight probably is not changing, or maybe you feel that you can't connect your mind to the muscle in that particular workout. These are some of the markers where you can probably interchange one of your workouts. When you are following a certain training program, if you see certain limitations, try and work around the reps to start with, try and work around the sets to start with. Maybe you can throw in a little intensity changes over there, take a little more rest if you feel that okay, you're getting too much fatigue and that is prohibiting you rather from connecting your mind to your muscle. Do these manipulations and only then decide on changing your entire training program. In most cases, switching one or two workouts also help. If that helps, then do that first, because that's much more easier to do than building a whole new program altogether. A lot of the times we get bored of certain workouts. It's okay to change one or two of them, but if it's actually giving you results, why do you want to mend something that is not broken? So I would suggest that stick to your program as long as it gives you results. Change it only when there is a dire need of it, and when you do it, make sure you're doing it for the right purposes and replacing it with workouts that actually help you achieve the same amount of results in the same particular manner. The next thing I'm going to talk about here, and probably the most underrated thing that I have seen people giving attention to, is recovery. Now, firstly, what is the importance of recovery? The recovery is actually where your muscle building happens. This is the time when you eat, when you drink water, and also get your sleep in. Now, the most important factor that actually drives anabolism is recovery. When you are in the gym, you are actually catabolic. This means that you are breaking muscle. What happens outside the gym is actually anabolic, depending on how you treat your recovery periods. Now, when you talk about recovery, the first thing that you need to keep in mind is optimal day-to-day recovery. Within that comes water, comes sleep, comes food, and then comes supplementation. Water is very, 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 very important. You have seen people say stay hydrated, stay hydrated, stay hydrated, but most of the people actually do not have an idea about how much they are drinking versus when are they drinking versus what is the way in which they are drinking water. For example, you should not be drinking a lot of water at once. This actually bloats you more and inhibits absorption of other nutrients. What you want to do is have a certain amount of water, which I prefer to be around 250 ml. Probably have that in divided time periods during the day, and you also want to make sure that you exactly know how much water you need as per your body weight. The second thing that is very important is sleep. Why I say sleep is more important than food as well, because somewhere I feel that when you get hungry, you do eat, but most people, especially the young kids in today's time, tend to forget the importance of sleep. Sleep is very, very important because sleeping is when maximum muscle building happens. All the repairing of the damaged muscle tissues happen around the sleeping hours. So it is very crucial that you get 7 to 8 hours of sleep every day. If you're getting anything less than that, you need to make sure that you probably get your afternoon naps in or your evening naps in, but you have to ensure that you get your 7 to 8 hours of sleep every day, because that is the one thing that is going to help you in the long run. And also, this is the one thing that actually helps you manage stress the most. Stress has its own side effects on muscle building. If you want me to make a video on how to manage your stress in particular, I can do that. Please help me understand if you would want to see content like that in the comment section. But coming back to sleep, it is vital that you get 7 to 8 hours of sleep every day. I cannot stress this enough as to how important this is for muscle building. Also, most amount of fat burning also happens in your sleep hours. It is shown that certain considerable amount of energy is required for your repairing purposes. So when you sleep is actually when you burn quite a lot amount of fat as well, and even your growth hormone for that matter is actually secreted in the first couple of hours of your sleep. So it is important that you go to sleep. It is important that you sleep a little early if possible, and get the benefits of all the naturally occurring hormones and the repair work that actually goes in and makes you feel better the very next day. So it is vital that you get sleep. Food, undoubtedly one of the most important things. Without nutrition there can be no recovery. It is important that you know how much proteins you need to eat, how much carbs you need to eat, how much fat you need to eat. In addition to that, how much fiber do you need to maintain your regular bowel system, and everything in between. There is no two ways about the fact that you need to eat to grow. So make sure you're eating good, you're eating right, you're eating healthy, and those 1 or 2 cheat meals once in a while is fine if that helps you keep in track with the major part of your goal. One last thing that you need to keep in mind is supplementation. It is really important for you to be in a space where your body is constantly repairing and growing. So when you are training in the gym, when you are moving heavy loads, when you're creating a lot of damage on your muscle tissue, what you need to be very cognizant of is the fact that you will have a lot of free radicals in your body. So you need a certain amount of antioxidants to fight those free radicals so that they do not create inflammation in the long run. So make sure you have certain amount of supplements that give you that antioxidatory benefit. Make sure you have certain essential supplements that help your organs, that help your bone, and also protect your heart. So these are a few vital things that you need to keep in mind when recovery is at question. One of the most important things that happens around people not being able to recover optimally is overtraining. You do not want to overtrain, and this is where I would want you to remember the first thing that I said in the video, that you do not want to go ahead with a lot of volume in your workouts, right? Because what volume tends to do is, if you're not used to handling that stress, your body will not be able to recover from that shock that you give to your body, not only to your muscles but also your nervous system. So make sure you're not overtraining. If you are sore for many days after your workout, some people might say that that's a sign of a good workout. Yes, that is if it lasts for a certain amount of period, nothing more than 24 hours. If it lasts beyond that, some way or the other your recovery is not optimum, and that's a clear sign of that. It could be because of lack of protein intake, it could be lack of vitamin C support in your body, just your general inflammatory responses are very weak and they're not being able to recover from that. So you want to fix all that. You want to drink more water, you want to get more sleep, and make sure you're rested. If that means that taking a day off from training, that's all right. Please feel free to take your days off from training when your body asks you to and tells you that no, you cannot train anymore because you've been already sore from your last training. That's a clear indication that your nervous system is still under load and cannot take the stress of it. So if you want longevity and if you want to grow over a longer period of time rather than that immediate moment, please prioritize recovery. Like I always mention, train as per your recovery, never recover as per you train, which means that you need to understand your body's capabilities to repair itself, to repair the muscle tissues, and only then you design the program accordingly. If you know that your body cannot handle that much of stress, do not train and then think of how I recover from this particular training. Always think of recovery first, understand recovery first, understand your body first, and then only move on to training more and harder. So keep these things in mind and you will be good to go. Now comes the fun part. Common mistakes you want to avoid to achieve your hypertrophy goals. Number one, use science and your brain, not your heart and your. Now, why this is important? I have seen a lot of people going with the flow. Now, what does going with the flow means? It means that going where your heart takes you. You have more time today, you want to work out more, you want to spend more time in the gym with your gym buddies. I understand that, but that does not mean you overtrain, because then it takes a hit on your recovery. So make sure that you are listening to your brain, understand what your body is telling you. Say for example, you have 3 different variations of back in your workout, but then after the first 2 variations and the intensity of it, you realize that you are totally stimulated right now. Your back is blown away, your back is on fire, and you cannot move weights optimally at this point of time. I mean, like, if you're moving the weight, you're just moving for the heck of it, and you're actually not being able to connect your mind to the muscle because it is so exhausted. Please listen to your body at that time. Pull back from that one variation. It's not going to harm you in any manner. It is not going to inhibit any progress. It's rather going to promote more progress because you listened to your body and gave it optimal time and the correct window to recover. So make sure that you listen to your brain and you use science as a concept to achieve your hypertrophy goals, and not your heart and not your, for sure. Because a lot of the times it also happens that you want to do something because you want to prove a point, maybe to yourself or to someone else, but it is not necessary at that point of time. So make sure that you are listening to your brain and your brain only, and science will always have your back if you listen to them. Now, one very important thing is, ego trips are great, but they are great only till they last. Now, what does this mean? It means that we all know about ego lifting. It feels great when we achieve that particular objective at that point of time, maybe moving a certain amount of weight from point A to point B. We do that, but we never concentrate on how we did it, right? It probably must be the worst form ever, or maybe it is something that is completely disassociated from muscle building workouts. So make sure you are not doing ego lifts. Apart from not only pulling and pushing a lot of weight, make sure you're not doing workouts, even if you can do them properly with perfect form, but don't do workouts that do not mean anything to hypertrophy. Don't do workouts that are not part of your training program on that particular day, but just because a friend asked you to, or a trainer asked you to show them your PR, you go ahead and do that. No, not needed at all. If you want to train for hypertrophy, stick to your program, stick to your goals, and stick to the training that gives you maximum results for the goal that you're trying to achieve. It is as simple as that. Point number 3, breathing is everything. Please don't mess it up. You need oxygen to carry all the nutrients into a particular muscle group that you are training, right? So at a particular time, whenever you are training a particular muscle, say for example biceps, if you are curling, you want all that blood flow into the biceps at that point of time, so that you get the maximum amount of pump. Now, what is pump? Pump is basically the maximum amount of nitrogen retention that happens within the muscle, right? So you want to make sure that all that blood is actually being carried to that muscle, and along with the blood, there's also nutrients that get into the muscle and actually aid recovery immediately at that point of time when you are tearing that muscle. So recovery actually starts immediately when you end your workout. So while you're creating the damage, you're also repairing it, or at least building that endurance for that muscle to take on the workout without injuring yourself, and then moving on from there. So make sure that at all times you breathe well, because that is very, very important. So deep breaths, deep inhaling, deep exhaling, when you are moving weights, and you do not want to breathe from your mouth. Try nasal breathing as much as possible. This is something that I was really bad at, because it was much more easier to just shout and scream and just open my mouth and exhale out from my mouth and actually lift weights. But trust me, since the time I have moved to nasal breathing, it has actually helped me build a lot more endurance in my muscles, and the kind of pump that I get from this is really insane. So nasal breathing, you want to take deep breaths while you are training. Don't lose your focus from your breathing while you are concentrating on mind muscle connection, is all I want to say. One very important thing is understand the difference between training for strength and training for hypertrophy. Again, touching back on something that I had already discussed, that you do not want to do certain workouts that do not result into hypertrophy but strength. So not at all times you would need a deadlift to actually build lower back muscle, so or maybe you don't want to do, or maybe RDLs are the thing that you actually need to put most emphasis on your hamstring development rather than actually doing conventional deadlifts. So have an understanding about strength training versus hypertrophy training, how it is different, and how the rep ranges also differ for each. So if you are attempting PRs, your PRs for hypertrophy will be very different from what it looks like for strength training. So know the difference between the two, and you will achieve your results in no time, and this I guarantee. Another very important thing, take a break when it's needed. It's okay to take your time off from the gym. That actually helps you become better at what you do. You will see tremendous growth when you actually take a break and come back, if you have not taken a break in a long time, because your body just keeps on going through that stress, and what it actually needs is rest and recovery. So take a vacation, go do things that you like the most, apart from weightlifting, of course. Do things that help you with being in an environment where you feel that okay, you are at rest, you are at ease, and you're in a secured space, and get back to the gym after that break, and you will definitely see the change in your strength, in your mind muscle connection, in the way your body recovers and responds to workouts. Everything is going to be much more better. So take time off when that is needed. Trust me, it is something that all the pros of the world do on a regular basis. It's only the ones who actually don't understand hypertrophy and actually don't know what goes into building muscle are the ones who are doing this day in and day out in the name of hard work, but actually are not gaining anything out of it. So make sure you take your breaks, go on a vacation, spend time with your family, if that what helps you get into a better space and rest and just ease it out. Or maybe it could just be a solo trip. So do whatever it takes, but do take time off from the gym regularly. One very important thing, don't complicate rest and recovery. The only thing where you need to use a lot of your brain is during training. Rest and recovery is comparatively easier to adhere to if you do not complicate it. For example, if someone is not looking at competitive goals, the least that they can do and the easiest thing that they can do is stick to a balanced meal. You don't want to complicate your meal and actually think about eating healthy all the time and omitting all the junk food from your diet and all that. No, it is not needed. Just make sure you're eating a balanced meal and you're eating whole foods. That's it. Reduce the amount of intake that you have of processed foods. Eat more whole foods and drink your water, sleep well. It's that simple. Do not complicate it. It's that simple. Yes, there are a lot of people out there who will tell you that okay, do these changes, do that changes, and you will see your life flipping from A to Z. No, it does not work that way. Trust me, most of those diets, most of those crazy lifestyle changes are just fads. Pick up something that is sustainable and is very much proven to give results to you, and you should be good to go. The last thing that I want to stress on is try, analyze and decide. It means that do not just train because someone asked you to. Do not do a workout because your favorite bodybuilder or powerlifter does a particular workout and you think that you should be doing that as well. Do not do a workout just because a very respected coach asked you to. A lot of the times our body does not respond to certain workouts the way we expect it to, and it is completely all right. We all are made different. One size does not fit all. So make sure you try out certain workouts that you've been asked to do, or maybe something that you know is conventionally done to achieve hypertrophic results. Do that over a period of time. Feel the muscles, see if you can actually connect your mind to the muscles, see how the recovery pattern is like, whether you're recovering from those workouts well or not, whether your bones hurt or not, whether your tendons hurt or not. So all these things are very important. You have to try a lot of things. You have to analyze the results of it and the repercussions from it, and then decide that okay, these are the things that are good for me. Follow these particular steps to achieving that perfect hypertrophy, and you should be good to go. I hope this video was helpful. Please make sure you like the video if you really liked it, and make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao.